in a language. Okay, let's start by talking about what Krasner discovered in 1999. Hi, why should you teach your students culture in a language class? Let's explore that topic. Okay, let's start by talking about the role of English as an international language. In the 21st century, we have technology and we have access to communication with other people in the speed of a click. So the 21st century education demands that students are able to communicate with other people that are for different cultures in an adequate manner. So researchers in 1999, like for example Krasner, discovered that culture is an important element that students should learn. Why? Because there are culturally appropriate features in language. So there are things that are appropriate and things that are not appropriate, and students need to learn that. So what Krasner discovered in 1999 means that students, even if they learn all of the communication strategies and all of that speaking skill, writing skill, if they don't learn the culture part, they're not going to be effective speakers, writers. They're not going to be appropriate in the culture that they are going to be communicating in. Okay, so here are 3 reasons why should I teach culture in my classroom. Okay, so reason number 1, because language is deeply intertwined with culture. Now, how is that? Look, language has, for example, words or expressions that are deeply connected to ideas that a society shares. For example, in Spanish, we think that the word viejo is very, very negative, and we usually don't say that to a person that we are like talking to. But in English, that's not actually the case. Let's go to reason number 2, which is teaching culture is inevitable because teaching language is teaching culture. You'll see, a language is a communication system. And yes, that's true. But people start using the language and they start creating changes and modifications to language. And they start producing more language and they start like actualizing that language and they start creating movies, books, and etc. until language cannot be separated from culture. By this point, most of the language has cultural values. Now, Budhes in 1990 explains very beautifully and very exactly why a language is always tinted with culture. For example, language codes cannot be taught in isolation because processes of socio-cultural transmissions are bound to be worked at many levels. So, for example, the contents of language exercises, the cultural discourse of textbooks, and the teacher's attitudes towards the target culture. So, reason number 3, and this is paramount for language teachers, and it is the communicational skill. Culture helps students come up with the background that all of the language has. Students need this. They need the background information in order to understand expressions and in order to understand vocabulary. Why? Because they need to feel language. They need to be a person that uses a language that is used by other people. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this TED Talk presentation and thanks for watching. Don't forget to teach your students culture.